Item E, our last item, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Oliver De Silva, Inc., DBA Gallagher and Burke, Inc. for the 2015 street rehabilitation project in the amount of $2,170,219, approving a construction contingency of $325,600, and approving a total budget in the amount of $2,737,919.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Jimmy Tan, City Engineer. The City CIP program includes street rehab program as well to repair and apply preventive maintenance, treatment to local, collector, and arterial streets. Like various cities throughout the Bay Area, the city uses the pavement management program called Street Saver to analyze pavement condition inspection data, evaluate the selection of streets for maintenance and replacement, and assess how it will impact future pavement condition index, the PCI ratings. The city's current average PCI for the street network is 63 out of 100, as shown on the slide. It's rated as a fair condition. The overall objective of the paving program is to provide the highest quality network of pavement possible for traveling public at a available funding level. So back in 2012, the city created a 5-year street rehab list from years 2013 through 2018, which included locations from Street Saver and residents' concerns. The streets listed under year 2013 were completed a couple of years ago. And for this year's pavement project, staff continued with the streets listed in the 2014 and 2015 years. And however, staff expanded the project to include some of the list in the 2016 year as well, and added additional streets as additive bid items, such as for those streets like Amador Avenue, Chestnut Avenue, and Santa Lucia, from residents' concern, in case the bids came in low and there were available fundings, after the bids were received. The streets included in this year's program has a combination of both preventive maintenance and reconstruction streets. Although some of the streets may look like it's in good condition, the street still needs to be rehabbed with like slurry seal in order to preserve the conditions. Otherwise, the cost of reconstruction will be higher in the future. The other segments that involves more than a slurry, has a PCI range of 15 through 65. For instance, Cedar Avenue, which is one of the street, has a PCI of 15, and Chestnut Avenue, is one of the bid items, has a PCI of like 18. The city advertised this project back in May 16th and again on the 23rd, and received 5 bids. The lowest bidder, Gallagher and Burke, meets the contractor's qualifications and requirements as specified in the contract documents, and their bid is also responsible and responsive. Since the bids were lower than the engineer's estimate, staff is recommended to award the entire project with all the streets for this year's paving project. The project will rehab 18 streets with a total construction cost of approximately $2.2 million, and consists of repaving the roadway surface with different treatments such as overlay, slurry seals, cape seals, and base repair of these pavement structures. The project will also include the installation of new accessible curb ramps and traffic stripings. And staff is also recommending to include a 15% construction contingency to address any potential unforeseen conditions during construction, and 10% for construction inspection, material testing, and project management. The funds from the fiscal year 14-15 will be carried over and used on this project, and the budget that was approved earlier today includes another $1.3 million in the 15-16 fiscal year for this paving program, and staff will utilize this funding as well on this project. With the implementation of the project, PCI will increase from 63 to 65. And I know during the recent budget study session, Council indicated that there may be additional funds available to be allocated into the paving program. The staff will be setting up a study session with the Council to discuss the overall paving program and the funding requirements to sustain the PCI, and recommendation on how to proceed with the future paving program. As mentioned during the budget study session, staff has been compiling a list of streets where the residents have expressed interest to getting their street restored, and total cost for that those projects is approximately $3.5 million. Staff has also developed just a preliminary five-year paving program from next year, 2016, all the way to 2020, and which includes, this is based on an allocation of $1.8 million to sustain the PCI at 65. And these streets, it includes a lot of the residents, I would say interested streets, to get their streets restored. And but we would definitely have to look into this a little bit more based on the funding that we receive and how we can address some of these other paving issues. So, but for tonight's action, staff is just recommending to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction agreement with Gallagher and Burke for the 2015 street rehab project. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Jimmy? Or action by the council?
Well,
Irene?
I have some questions. Okay, could you go back to the other map? And is there any way to make that bigger or? I tried really hard. The map I have in my packet is gray on gray, and I couldn't really read it that well. So.
Even if you blow it up.
Yeah, even if you blow it up, you can't see it that well. And I looked for a list of those. Is that list?
I can show you.
Is
Hold on.
that from the city's website?
Correct?
Okay, so that's Bennington,
I have a number list
Hermosa.
here.
Yeah, we have a list of the streets.
You can see a little bit there.
Okay.
It is hard to see it on the map.
I have my glasses
Okay,
on and everything.
we're happy to
Okay,
read that
so-
list if you would like.
Yeah, so I'll be happy to read it. Cedar
Well,
Avenue.
That's okay. I printed it up from the city website that has the 2015 list on it. So the additional streets, Amador, Chestnut, and Santa Lucia,
Correct.
you're saying they came from resident complaints?
Correct.
Okay, I appreciate that because I'm sure, I'm sure you got a lot of complaints. But there's a lot of people who, let's see, how can I say this? The people, it's like a squeaky wheel. So if you get more complaints, you get your street paved. Is that, I mean, because if that's so, I'm going to complain and complain and complain about Huntington because it's not on a recent list. Please tell me that you did more than just count up citizen complaints about those streets. And go ahead.
These streets actually have been on the complaint list for several years. We've been monitoring those streets. We actually, when we get the complaint, we go out there, and the complaint is just not just triggered. No matter we get one complaint or 10 complaints, we still go out there, monitor the street, and evaluate it to see if it could be a candidate for future. So these streets have been on our radar for several years now, and we've been wanting to do it. We just never had the opportunity or the funding to proceed.
Okay. So, okay, I just, it seems to me there's other streets in the city that, while these streets are not good, there are other streets that are more public, that have a lot of traffic, that are horrible, and while they're not residential streets, they are used, all the time, all day long, and people travel from in and out of our city on them. So particularly I'm thinking of Huntington, especially now with the railroads, the train station being there, and all the traffic that comes down there that wasn't particularly there that before, plus all the construction that went on and hasn't been repaired. So it just seems to me that would be a more appropriate street to do.
If I may
That's
mention,
my opinion.
right? If I may mention a little bit, some of these, the CIP projects, the program, one of the project that's on the list that will be coming to council for award is the Avenues 1-1 and 1-2, which includes the sewer and water replacement over in Huntington and Sylvan Avenue as well, and in those areas. So a lot of those streets were not included in the paving program because we would have to tear up the streets again if we do end up putting the paving in and coming back within the next couple of years and digging all the street up and to install the pipelines. So it wouldn't be cost effective for us to pave those streets and have to dig them up again as part of the CIP project.
All of Huntington?
A portion of, all the way down to Taylor,
From
from where the triangle, Cemetery Avenue, all the way to Huntington, all the way to Taylor Avenue.
Huntington Avenue actually was on our list to replace back a while ago, but we had a storm issue there. If you recall, we had flooding issue, and we went out there and we had a program, a CIP project to look at the storm drain system and try to improve that storm drain between we actually went ahead with paving. So we had the paving on hold pending that resolution to the storm drain. So that's what's the delay for Huntington. This is the area that goes all the way down to Millbrae. So from Millbrae all the way to the courtyard, we had issues with the undulating pavement and storm drain that went into the JPB/BART right away to the east and into the airport property in that slough area. So we were working with a consultant in order to assess the problem and see if we can replace the storm drain system before we actually get in and pave it. And that was the delay for the southern portion. And the northern portion, we're going to have the storm and the sewer and water project that's going to go in as part of the avenues and replace that.
Is there some way we can indicate that on the maps then, or on the lists, or something? I mean, pending sewer repairs, pending storm drain, color-coded, something, because I have like this much paper and the maps that show things that, it gets very confusing and very difficult to explain to anyone why you're not doing something, because it looks like it should be done. So maybe there's a way we can color coordinate or do something. Anyway.
Through the chair, what Irene was saying, because I've asked this a few times now. And because what you'll have is we'll have a street and a resident will say, why are we doing that street when they were just done? And I'm going, was it just done? And if it was done, time goes by quick. So I've always asked when we bring up these streets, because I do get that question quite a bit. The Euclid neighbor will tell me, and it's a rating of 22, why aren't we there? But why are we over the way this just looks, Santa Lucia, DeSoto, which aren't bad, opposed to that? And then there's a perception that Whitman Way is always done. There's a perception, right or wrong. But there's nothing for me or a resident to look at, as I've asked, so that we can say, hey, the last time it was done, it was a slurry seal, and it was done in 2012. I mean, May or whatever. But I think that would help, as what Irene's saying, so that we can maneuver through that and at least have an explanation to folks. There is this large project happening, so please understand. There's a grade separation construction that's not complete, please understand. So I think that would help if we could somehow make it more efficient and user-friendly to ourselves as well as the residents.
Maybe some type of an overlay, if you will, so that you show the streets that are going to be done, and then also show the projects that are projected, and the streets will be done later after those projects. Just as simple as we can, so we can explain it to them.
That'd be nice.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion or action by the council?
In the
Ken?
meantime, we can take photos of streets and bring them to the study session.
Okay.
Our laundry list of streets.
All right. Any other discussion or action by the council?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell. Mayor Ruane.
Aye.